Great. Hey, I'm Chris Quinn, and this is a brand called You. I'm with Chris Yates, and this is the extended form video, and we are excited to have the marketer of the year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Great. We are thrilled to have you here. How's your day going?
It's going great. It's
Good.
awesome. I
Good.
love this stuff. I
Good.
love social media, and this interaction is great. So thank you.
Good. How did you become marketer of the year?
Well, it's interesting. It's really my background. So my background is obviously television. I was in TV from 1990 to 2007. So it's a long process to be able to do this. But basically, I did it, and I love television. And then everything shifted, as you know. It shifted to online. Facebook was, in 2008 was like 2 years old, and I started messing around with it, started doing that stuff. So I know this is a long answer, but really, how did I become this marketer in social media? It's really content driven, and I've been doing content since 1990 on television, and basically I just changed the channel. That's what I tell people. How did you figure out the social media stuff? Well, it's not that difficult. It's basically switching where you're putting your information.
Yeah. I think one of the things is we're constantly reinventing ourselves, right?
Absolutely, you
Right.
have to.
Right. So what we're going to do in our extended form video, once again, this is our long form video, and our short form video, we'll kind of talk more about video and a lot of the other things that you do. But in our extended form and our brand called You, we really want to talk about you.
Okay.
And we really want to talk about, you're from San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
Went to the University of Texas.
That's correct.
You come from a big family, right?
Welcome Horns, I do. Yeah.
How many people are in your family?
Oh gosh, we have six, and my mother. So
Okay. And were you played sports?
I did. I played high school football at Alamo Heights. Was actually pretty decent.
Okay.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
Played defensive back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you say decent, were you all district or?
I was all district and third team all city, and then I got a college scholarship for football at a small school. I decided, you know what, I'll go to University of Texas instead, and I'm not going to even try and walk on there. And then I played intramural football there, and we did pretty well in that.
Okay.
So yeah,
Great. Now, how'd you end up at the University of Texas?
I just love the Horns. I love Austin. It's a great school, and they had a good journalism school. So I wanted to be a journalist, and that's where I went, and never looked back. And that's where I started taking like public access television and stuff, and taking courses and doing all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Were you into film as a kid or into photography
Yeah,
or?
that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. In high school, we messed around a lot with pretending to be sports anchors and stuff. So I always liked sports. So I wanted to figure out a way, and I wasn't good enough to be a professional football player. So I said, you know what, might as well do the next best thing and get into sports.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
then just worked my way up and worked in small markets. Worked in Laredo, Texas, market 198 out of 202. So you got to start small. But I got my reps in, was very bad at the beginning, and then got my reps in, and then worked my way up all the way to the number 5 market in the United States, Dallas.
Wow.
And then worked in Dallas from 95 till 2007. I was an anchor, reporter, producer, did it all.
Okay, we were talking about the power of full engagement yesterday and how kind of sports in a roundabout way prepares you for the boardroom. Do you feel like being an athlete prepared you better?
Yeah, because it's a team deal. Sports is all about teamwork. And in business, it's all about teamwork. You've
Right.
got to be able to do that. And athletes, they train hard, we work hard, you're always studying. So it all applies really. Athletics is really similar to business. If you are successful in athletics, a lot of times you see some of the great athletes that are doing great in business. Emmett Smith is a good friend of mine. He's doing fantastic because he took that work ethic and put it into business. So
Cool.
athletes work hard.
Cool. I'm Chris Quinn. This is Chris Yates. This is a brand called You, and we're talking about how Chris got his start really in the very beginning at that University of Texas.
Yeah,
That's where it all began.
I
huh?
did. I started taking public access, which was kind of crazy back in those days. If you go look up one of our public access shows, we did awful. I mean, I was tremendous. But I always tell people this. They say, how do you get comfortable on camera? How do you get after it? I say, suck early, suck often, and get it out of the way. Because you're going to be horrible. But until you do those first lives or do that interaction stuff, you're not going to all of a sudden be an Emmy award winning person right away. It's just impossible. You got to get the reps in. It's like anything else in life. Get the reps in, keep at it, and you'll improve over time. I mean, I was awful on camera when I first started, but that was early '90s.
Okay, so we meet a lot of kids today, and they have this aspire to be in front of the camera, right? You meet a lot of young people, and
Yeah.
they can't decide if they want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera, or what's the best advice you can give them?
Oh, I always tell people just be yourself. Don't try and be someone you're not. Just speak the truth. I mean, be who you are. Show your personality because if you try and emulate other people, then it's not going to come across natural.
Right.
It's all about being natural in front of the camera and being yourself. And I don't know. You got to think a lot too. You've got to think on your feet quickly, especially live. I mean, a lot of times people get flustered and they're thinking too much sometimes. So just have a conversation. Be conversational.
But let's talk about those skill sets as far as writing and
Okay.
editing, and because it seems like the kids that are the ones that I'm most impressed by are the ones that can write, can edit, can shoot, can do it all, right?
You're going to have to. So when you go to small markets, one of our first jobs was in Laredo, Texas, market 198 out of 202. So I get there and I'm the main anchor, right? So I'm like, this is great. Go on the set. They're like, no, here's a camera. You need to shoot Friday Night Football. You need to bring it back. You need to edit it. You need to produce it. You need to produce your show. So you're basically what they call a one-man band, okay? You do everything. And I said, well, where's our department? You are the department. I was the entire sports department. I was the cameraman, the editor, the anchor, the reporter. So I would go out by myself, set up the camera, look at it, and interview people. And I didn't have a cameraman. The camera was just standing there. So you have to be able to do that kind of stuff. You got to be very talented. A lot of times people that want to be on camera, they just want to be on camera. That ain't going to happen.
Right.
You need to have all the skill sets of writing and editing and producing. You need to have all that before you can be on camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk about what you're doing today.
Okay.
You've got your production company. You're on the weekends. Where were you this last weekend?
Okay, this is great stuff. So, Gordo's Cheese Dip, great brand, by the way, very creative, wanted to get into college football, all right? So, there's, you know how expensive it is to sponsor a major game and sponsor the national television, do all that. Well, Gordo's was brilliant. You know why? Because they decided instead of focusing on the football team and the teams and all that, they focus on the fans. So, we go to the tailgates, which is perfect for Gordo's Cheese Dip because so we bring the tailgate party to the people. But what I love about this brand is they're not just forcing the brand in them. They're bringing the food to the people, but the stories are what it's all about. So Gordo's wants to tie into storytelling, okay? Interesting people. There's guys that are wearing headsets and we're interviewing them. People with fire trucks. I mean, just interesting people out there. And they're the Gordo's Ultimate Tailgate. And we pick 3 a week. And then people go vote each week on who they think is the ultimate tailgater. And of course, there's a little bit of brand shot in there, eating the chips with the queso and all that, because it's Gordo. They're the #1 cheese dip in America, by the way. They're freaking
By
awesome.
the way.
Yeah, by the way, they're awesome.
And where can I find Gordo's?
Yeah, Gordo's. You can find them at grocery stores all
Yeah.
over, but they're mainly in the South. But they are expanding, and they're fantastic, and they really are great.
And they have 22,000 followers on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, what we love about what they do is we're bringing the tailgate to the fans as well. So we're actually making their tailgate better with the cheese dip and the TV crew and all that. And then we make a story out of the tailgate. And we're talking a little about Gordo's, but it's mainly about why they're interesting.
Right. And we're going to talk more
I
about
love
this
that.
in the short form video about, I like how you said, we're bringing the tailgate to the fans.
Yeah.
Right. And this is all about storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
And how you're using video and the power of the medium.
Right. And it's all on social media.
Right.
And so it's on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all this. So
Tune into the short form because that's really cool about how that's being used.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. But no, and so we basically do these interviews. We spend about an hour and a half at each tailgate, and we make a 2-minute video out of it. No, probably about a minute and a half actually.
Cool.
Short form. They get to tell their story. We show how great they are, and then they prove that they're the ultimate tailgater. And then they go against 2 other contestants. People vote, and it's an 8-week process to find the ultimate tailgater.
Sweet. Are you using live Facebook at all anyway?
Yeah, we are. We're doing some lives while we're out there, but mainly it's edited, and then people vote a week later on what we saw.
Okay.
We're traveling all over the country. Last year we went to 20 universities.
Oh
Yeah, and we see a lot of interesting people out there. I'll tell you that. So we basically walk around. We try and find the most interesting people tailgating.
That's
And I'm
cool.
telling you, tailgating is a multi-million-dollar industry now. I mean, some people all they do is tailgate and they don't even go in the stadium.
Isn't it crazy?
They just stay at the tailgate, and that's
Yeah.
like it's almost become its own sport.
Right. And you've got to have you been to TCU?
We've been now. This is focused on SEC football.
Okay.
Years ago, I did the Big 12.
Oh, cool.
So I've done the Big 12. I've done SEC. I'm now doing Notre Dame. I've done Florida State and the ACC. So I've been all over. I've probably been to probably over 50 stadiums now in the last 8 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
everybody is interesting in their own unique way. You can find the people doing all kinds of things, and it still amazes me the stuff that they come up with.
Well, it's a family event,
Yeah.
right? It really is. Whole family, everyone participates.
Yes.
And you coming from a big family, having a big family,
Right.
What's that all about?
That's what it's about. I mean, I'll tell you a story. So my family was so big that we invited our cousins and all that, and it was Thanksgiving, and everybody's there, and I'm outside playing football, and the Cowboys are playing. It was tradition, right? So Thanksgiving dinner's over, dishes are put up, people are stuffed, and I come in and I say, I'm starving. They're like, what do you mean you're starving? I said, I'm starving. How can you be starving? We've had all this thing. I said, I never ate. So they didn't even know that their own son was not at the Thanksgiving dinner because everybody was, it was like, I don't know, 80 people there. We had all the cousins. And of course, I'm outside playing football. And nobody knew that I was gone and they missed Thanksgiving dinner. It still haunts me to this day.
That's a
Yeah.
great story. So do you do head count when you sit all your kids
I,
down?
I do. I got to. But it's funny. It's like when I have big parties, I always make sure, okay, is everybody here? Because I don't want my kids to be traumatized like I was.
Yeah.
And my mom still this day, you still talk about this every Thanksgiving. I'm like, well, you traumatized me.
You're watching A Brand Called You. We're with Chris Yates. Chris, what's the number one question you get? Because I guess everyone's kind of that intrigued with social media, marketer of the year.
Well, that's a good question. I like that question. I don't think I've ever gotten that one. I probably get who is the most interesting person you've ever met.
Yeah.
Because I've interviewed anybody from Deion Sanders to Troy Aikman to all these famous athletes. But I'll tell you the most interesting one to me was Dennis Rodman. So Dennis Rodman, cross-dressing Dennis Rodman. And I did a story on him and his family, and you would not believe where he came from. He left and he worked on a farm with a family in Oklahoma, okay? And this is Dennis Rodman, and he was driving a tractor as a college kid to go play college ball in Oklahoma. So these interesting stories that we find, I love storytelling.
Yeah. I guess that's, and we'll talk more about that, but you've got all these great stories, and to get them out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the challenges of how do you distribute them? Mm-hmm. How do you get them in front of that right audience?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have people all the time tell me we have these great stories, and how do we distribute them? And how do we, because there's so many channels,
Yeah.
and how do we find the right audience for those channels?
Yeah, I mean, you got to if you create enough great content over time, people find you. And then they start figuring out where you are. But you have to be clever about how you do it and the hashtags you create and getting it online to make sure that people know they search you and they can find you easy. But I've got enough out there that, I mean, you Google me and you can find tons of my content.
Yeah.
It's all about creating content. You've got to create content in this day and age to keep up.
Right. Motivation. What motivates you?
I love great storytelling. I mean, that motivates me. Telling a great story, finding unique stories that people don't find, and just getting people to say things that maybe they have never said before, where they afterwards are like, I can't believe I just opened up like that. No one ever gets, they call me Mopra, the male version of Oprah. So I get that a lot. And so I like that. So I just have fun with it because I like to interact with people. I like to be able to talk with people, to get them to share something that maybe they've never shared before.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's cool. Who gave you that?
I don't even remember. It's been years since someone said, man, you're Mopra, man, the male version of Oprah. And this is when Oprah was really rocking. So I love that nickname, and I stick with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. What do you like to do for fun?
Oh man, I'm in sports. I do a lot of sports stuff, so I've always been intrigued by sports. But to me, it's not just about the games; it's about the storytelling. And for fun, I still love storytelling. I've got, 4 kids under the age of 12. You know, so I got two 12 twins, 9 and a 6, and so they keep me busy. And I love hanging out with them and teaching them things.
Now, are they into sports?
Yeah, my 12-year-old boy is actually into video editing. Like
Oh,
I'm
cool.
already grooming him. He loves it.
Right
He
on.
loves it already. He's already trying to do stuff. He's doing some editing for me actually
Oh, cool.
at 12. He's already way ahead of me.
You've got him on the payroll.
Oh, he's gonna be better. He'll win an Oscar or something.
Now, is he working in Premiere?
Yes,
Yeah.
he is. Final
That's
Cut.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. The
Yeah.
technology today
Yeah,
makes it
it's
so
great.
easy for them
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, the fact that they can learn how to edit right now at this young of an age is impressive.
It is lots of changes.
Yeah.
So, where's the future? What do you want to do?
I want to keep telling. I mean, I just want to find more great stories. I want to do like a documentary, like a cool documentary, and I'm talking to some people about doing one on a Hollywood type, like a big documentary, and that's my next big project. I would love to do a cool documentary.
On sports, on
No, it's actually not on sports. It's on I can't reveal it because we're negotiating, trying to, but interesting. It's about the cartel and stuff like that. Like it's non-sports related.
Cool.
And someone that got heavily involved and was a very dynamic person. And we're talking to some people that were around him and do a mini documentary on that.
Cool.
So things like that would really excite me.
Who are your influencers?
Oh gosh, anybody that creates great stuff. I love documentary people that create great storytelling. To me, those are my heroes.
Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk. Who are you reading?
Oh man, Gary V. I know Gary V pretty well actually.
Oh, do
I've
you?
interviewed him a lot. He's a passionate guy, man.
Yes, he has lots of energy,
I
isn't
know.
he?
I meet him all the time at South by Southwest. If you could check out our videos, I've interviewed him I think 3 or 4 times. He's a interesting guy. I'll tell you that. So, I don't know. I like people that do different things. I like people that are passionate about what they do and are great at what they do.
Okay, so who should we be watching? I know you follow David Beebe.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some other people that are just because I think
There's
that
so many out there.
just throw out a couple. Give us a
Yeah.
couple names that
We just mentioned Gary Vee. I think Gary Vee is fantastic,
Yeah.
especially in this space. Rather than people, quite frankly, what I like to follow a lot are events because nowadays you could be, in tune with some of the greatest events in the world. One time, someone goes, "Hey, I'd love to meet you for coffee after the press conference." I'm like, "I'm not in New York. I just follow the hashtag." And
Okay.
so I follow hashtags a lot on live events,
Great advice.
content marketing world or South by Southwest. You don't have to be at these events, but you can be there through following the hashtags. And to me, I think that's probably one of the most interesting things in the last couple of years that you could put yourself at content marketing world. You could be at, some of the greatest events in the world that you don't have to fly to London to go to an event, but you can be there live. I mean, I interact with people all the time by following the hashtag and finding cool comments of what they're watching and then interact with those people and then we become friends. So like right now there's one content, what is it? I forgot the name of it, but just all these type of social media marketing events that you can follow and then interact with people and not even be there. I think that's the coolest thing.
That's cool. This is Chris Yates. This is a brand called You. This is our extended video. We hope you've enjoyed it as much we have enjoyed having you here.
Awesome.
Check out our short form video to learn more about social media, video, live video. Chris has had 800,000 people on a live feed one time. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, thank you.
But thank you for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And everyone have a great week, and we'll see you real soon. I'm Chris Quinn. This is Chris Yates. This is a brand called You. See you real soon.